and welcome to the Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today we'll be analysing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 23rd April 2019. The topics to be discussed today are reflected on your screen and the timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So let's begin. This news is an editorial appearing on page number 10 and is basically a critique of India's decision last week to suspend the cross-LOC trade. Now this topic will fall under GS paper 3, both in the category of security as well as economy. As discussed, the context of this editorial is that India has decided to suspend the cross-LOC trade which used to take place between the Jammu and Kashmir areas and the Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Before we go on to discuss the background of this cross-LOC trade as well as the current issue at hand, for your better understanding, you need to know what is the line of control. Now, the term LOC refers to the military control line between the Indian and the Pakistani controlled parts of the Jammu and Kashmir state. Now, this line does not constitute a legally recognized international boundary but is considered as a de facto border. The origin of this line of control lies in the independence struggle. Now, we know that India and Pakistan have an unsettled border dispute in the Jammu and Kashmir region, which is a legacy of the independence war. So when peace was agreed in 1947, a ceasefire line was demarcated between Pakistan and India. Later on, it was this ceasefire line which was renamed as the line of control after the Shimla Agreement, which happened post the 1971 war. Hence, this term line of control is nothing but the ceasefire line which was agreed between India and Pakistan during independence. Let us now understand the background of this cross-LOC trade. This cross-LOC trade between Jammu and Kashmir and the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir was started in the year 2008 as a Kashmir-specific confidence-building measure. Earlier in the year 2005, a cross-LOC bus service was started between Jammu and Kashmir and POK, and then again in the year 2008, this cross-border trade was started. Now both of these, the cross-border bus service as well as this cross-border LOC trade, was considered as a Kashmir-specific confidence-building measure which was effected through back-channel negotiations between India and Pakistan on a resolution to Kashmir in a belief that this would give both the sides, that is India and Pakistan, with enough leg room to remake and rebuild their India-Pakistan relationships, especially across the Kashmir issue. Hence, the main idea behind the cross-LOC trade was that the people-to-people contact which this trade will support will help in resolving the Kashmir issue, especially in a peaceful and official manner. Now, in the year 2008, when this cross-border trade was started, it was started between J&K and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir across two crossing points. One was the Srinagar-Muzaffarabad crossing point at Uri, and the second was the Poonch and Rawalkot crossing point at Chakkadabag. Now, though in the beginning these were the two areas where the trade used to take place, but currently, before its suspension, trade also used to take place at Baramulla and Salamabad. Further, this agreement was for a zero-duty trade, initially for a list of 21 items, which included embroidery items, bananas, red chilies, dry fruits, mangoes, etc. Though the actual intention of this agreement was that trade should take place for ordinary local items, but of late, even the exchange of third-party items like the US origin California almonds was also taking place, which is again one of the reasons why the cross-LOC trade has been suspended. Now in this editorial, the author has provided us with reasons as to why such suspension should not have happened. And most of the reasons forwarded by him lie in the importance of this cross-LOC trade. Now the importance of the cross-LOC trade lies in the fact that this trade serves as a bridge between India and Pakistan. The most crucial benefit of this cross-LOC trade is the benefits it imparts to the local economies of the areas surrounding the LOC. Now, this cross-border trade has acted as a source of employment for the people who are living in the remote areas surrounding the LOC, especially for the local traders and the unemployed and vulnerable youth of these border areas. Now, when this trade was started in the year 2008, it was worth around 1.3 crores. And currently, in March 2019, the volume of trade across this LOC was worth approximately more than 6,000 crores. Hence, this will give you an idea as to how much crucial this cross-border trade has been for people living in these remote areas surrounding the borders. Further, you should keep in mind that the trade which used to happen was mostly related to the local goods, and even the people who were employed, including the ones who helped in transportation, were from border communities. Hence, for the communities living around the border, it was one of the major sources of employment. The next point is another very important one, which is that this cross-LOC trade was seen as a confidence building measure to help resolve the Kashmir issue between India and Pakistan. Next, this trade also helped in the conflict transformation because this trade had attracted all those divided families as well as some former militants and combats who were now part of this non-violent and alternative vision for change and conflict transformation. That is to say, all those people who were hitherto unemployed and therefore used to stray away towards violent or militant means, these people got an alternative vision where they could make their livelihoods through this trade. Hence, this trade has helped in the conflict transformation. Lastly, this trade has been seen as a bottoms-up approach to peace building between India and Pakistan. The reason it is considered as a bottoms-up approach is because it is believed that the people-to-people contact between both the sides, as well as giving people an alternative source of employment, will help resolve the issue of Kashmir, which has been plaguing the India-Pakistan relationships for almost 7 decades. Hence, through the cross-LOC trade, the ground issues were targeted, and this cross-border LOC trade was helping to build peace and resolve all the conflict at the ground level amongst the people themselves. Let us now look at the issues or the reasons as to why the government has suspended this cross-border LOC trade. The first is that the government says illegal weapons, narcotics, as well as fake currency is being transported across the borders under the garb of this local trade. Therefore, the government feels that this trade is being misused by the individuals who are linked with terrorist groups. Hence, the first point is in relation to the security of India. The second point is that of late it has been noticed that this cross-border trade has been expanded to non-Kashmiri goods or third-party goods, for example, the California almonds. Further, these non-Kashmiri or third-party goods are being used for laundering money. The third point is regarding the violation of the zero tariff barter arrangement between the two countries, where it has been found out that goods are being under-invoiced in addition to third-party items being sold. And whatever money which is generated from these two are then used for terror financing. To give you an example, what happens is that the Pakistani traders will under-invoice products like the California almonds, and then on receiving this consignment, a trader on the Indian side will sell this California almonds at the prevailing market price and then make extra profit. Further, this extra money which he earns is then handed over by this trader to multinational elements as well as terror organizations in the valley to fuel anti-India operations. Hence, this under-invoicing as well as the selling of third-party items has led to terror financing in the valley. So, taking note of all these issues, which majorly center around the security of India, the government has now decided to suspend this cross-LOC trade. Now, in this editorial, the author is saying that rather than suspending this trade altogether, what the government should do is that it should enforce these rules much more stringently. And further, the government should have a foolproof mechanism to enforce the given agreement and check that under-invoicing as well as the trade in the third-party items does not take place. The main argument behind not suspending this cross-border trade is that more than its value in currency terms, this cross-LOC trade holds much more symbolic value in the valley. Hence, considering the importance this cross-LOC trade holds, the author of this article as well as the people living in the valley are hoping that this current suspension will not be permanent. With this, let's move on to our next news. This news appears as an article on page number 10, and in this the authors are saying that the political parties in India should have a better and targeted focus on women's reproductive rights. This topic will fall under GS Paper 2 in the category of social issues under the topic issues related to health. The context of this article is set in the fact that women's sexual as well as reproductive rights have not been taken up as a major electoral issue by any of the political parties in India. Now, though the political parties in their manifesto have spoken about the reproductive rights, but the view taken by them is a very narrow one. For example, the Congress manifesto says that if they come to power, they'll make the registration of marriage compulsory and will enforce a law prohibiting child marriage. In the same way, the CPIM says that it will make marital rape an offence and will also ensure the strict implementation of the Prohibition of the Sex Selection Act. Further, some political party says that they will ensure that there is no female feticide in the country. BJP's manifesto focuses on menstrual health and hygiene, etc. Though all political parties have touched upon the reproductive rights, but the extent to which it has been understood is a very limited one, and some of the extremely important issues are missing. Hence, the author says the sexual and the reproductive rights of the women in the country should include a very prominent focus on the maternal deaths which are happening all across the country. Now, maternal mortality rate is the number of women who died during pregnancy and childbirth per 1 lakh live birth. So, the MMR in India for the year 2016, which is the latest figure which is officially available, stood at 130 per 1 lakh live birth. Now, though this number is relatively less as compared to the global average of the MMR, but yet India has the highest number of maternal deaths worldwide. And in fact, it is stated that on an average, one maternal death occurs every 12 minutes in our country. Hence, the author feels that the conversation on the reproductive rights of women should include the concern of maternal deaths. Now, the authors in this article have presented various reasons for the high number of maternal deaths in India. The foremost of them is unsafe abortions. As per the authors, unsafe abortion is the third leading cause of maternal death in India. In fact, half of the pregnancies in India are unintended, and out of that, only 1/3 result in abortion. And from those who actually result in abortion, only 22% are carried out in a public or a private healthcare facility. Second is the stigma which is attached to unmarried women being pregnant. Now, one of the reasons why there is lack of access to safe abortions in clinics, especially the public hospitals, is because of the stigma and the attitudes towards women, especially the young unmarried women who seek an abortion. It is not uncommon to observe that unmarried pregnant women always face a lot of discrimination and ostracization from the community, even including the doctors, who many a times ask for the parents or the spouse's consent to carry out an abortion on the lady, though this is not required by the law. Therefore, due to all of these circumstances, the women are forced to turn to clandestine and unsafe abortion options, and this makes abortion as the leading cause of maternal death in India. Another reason cited by the authors is the outdated Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. Now, as per this act, a woman can terminate pregnancy only up to 20 weeks. And if an unwanted pregnancy has proceeded beyond 20 weeks, then that woman has to approach a medical board or the court to seek permission for an abortion, which is again extremely difficult to get. Hence, the author feels that this MTP Act requires a reform and that women should be allowed to have an abortion if and when they like. Having stated the reasons for the maternal deaths, the authors have also provided a solution by which we can improve the maternal mortality rate in India. The first is, of course, during the time of pregnancy, the women should have access to a good quality maternal care. Second is that women should have options for safe abortion. Further, women should also have access to contraceptives, which will help them to prevent an unwanted pregnancy. The next and a very major one is that there should be a change in attitudes in the society. Hence, the author feels that it's high time that the stigma and discrimination which is associated with women, especially unmarried pregnant women, should be removed from our country. And this removal of stigma will happen only when the general attitude of the society towards the girl, women, as well as the LGBT people will change, because it is only then that the gender and sexuality will have no bearing on the access to treatment and health. Because we have observed that in our country, the gender of the person, the sexuality of the person, as well as the various stigma associated with it are a major hindrance in the access of healthcare services. Further, the authors even feel that all those forced medical procedures such as forced sterilization, should also be prohibited in our country. And when all these steps are taken, only then can women have sexual and reproductive rights in the real sense in our country. Finally, in this article, the authors have lauded the progressive steps taken by the Supreme Court for the cause of women's sexual and reproductive rights. The first and the foremost is the decriminalization of adultery as well as Section 377 of the IPC. And in both of these judgments, it was clearly held that the women have a right to sexual autonomy, which is a very important aspect of their right to personal liberty as given under Article 21. Further, even in the Puttaswamy case, the court had held that the right to privacy includes the right to preserve one's personal intimacies as well as the right to marriage, procreation, as well as sexual orientation. Therefore, in a plethora of other cases as well, the Supreme Court has time and again held that the right of the women and the girls to safe abortion is a very important aspect of their right to bodily integrity as well as the right to life and equality. Hence, the main gist of this article was that the political parties in India should acknowledge that it is a high time that right to safe abortion should become an important political issue which must be addressed and debated widely, particularly if the parties are really committed to women's human rights. With this, let's move on to our next news. This news appears as an article on page number 10, and in this, the author highlights that ASAT is not a game changer and has a little strategic advantage for India. Now, this topic will fall under GS Paper 3 under the category of Achievement in Space Technology. Hence, in this article, the author has presented certain points as per which he says that the ASAT has little strategic value and further that it sends a wrong message to the international community and could tarnish India's image as a peaceful and responsible nation. Now, the first reason cited by the author is that the testing of the ASAT has sent out the message that India is on the verge of embarking on a new era of space weaponization. Further, the author says that projecting this test as creating a credible deterrence, India in a way has suggested to the world that it is not against the weaponization of space. Further, the author says that although India has assured the international community that it has not violated any of the international treaties, but this does not mean that the world will take India on its word and will believe India's claim regarding its peaceful intentions. Moreover, the author says that the ASAT's capability is generally perceived as integral to the ballistic missile defense program. Therefore, the author says this clearly means that the ASAT test is a military program. Hence, in turn, it implies an intention on India's part to embark on weaponization of outer space. Therefore, the author says that this test has sent out a very wrong message to the international community because now it will be perceived that India supports weaponization of space. In addition to this, the author has given the example of countries like France and Israel who though have ASAT capabilities, yet they refrained from carrying out such tests because they were wary of their international reputation. The second point raised by the author is that the strategic importance of the ASAT has declined post the Cold War era. The author says that the ASAT was essentially a Cold War phenomena whose strategic importance has now declined over the years. And it is for this reason that countries like US, Russia and China are demonstrating less and less interest in pursuing the ASAT weaponry. Further, these countries like US, Russia and China, who earlier used to believe in ASAT, are increasingly focusing on laser and cyber capabilities to neutralize killer satellites. Hence, the author says that these countries are experimenting with the directed energy weapons, radio frequency weapons, etc., rather than concentrating on shooting down the satellites in the space. Another very important issue related to the ASAT missile is the problem of space debris. Hence, considering the fact that the strategic importance of ASAT has declined and that the ASAT, if started to be used frequently, can be the leading cause of space debris, most of the countries are not indulging in the ASAT weaponry anymore. The third concern raised by the author is that India's successful testing of the ASAT has now raised neighborhood suspicion. The first neighborhood concern is just like India's nuclear test, Now even Pakistan will try to acquire the same capability as India, and that will happen with China's support. Hence, the author feels, towing India's line, Pakistan is next in line to test the ASAT weaponry. Further, the author is saying that China has also become increasingly wary of India's intention in the space and can possibly take a lot of appropriate countermeasures. Another thing the author has highlighted is that ISRO has recently indicated that most of the new launches which it has lined up, like the EMISAT or MicroSat are all intended for strategic use. Hence, more and more defense satellites are being lined up to be launched by India. And this again could give rise to concerns about where India is headed and could further aggravate suspicion in the neighborhood. Finally, in the end, the author has given certain suggestions as to how India can try to undo this damage. The first is that India should now highlight the fact that it has an enormously successful space program, unlike those of many other countries. Further, India should stress on the fact that India's space program was conceived and implemented as a civilian program which is quite distinct and separate from any other military program or objective. Hence, it is this civilian space program of India which distinguishes India's space program from that of the other countries such as the US, Russia and China. And finally, in the conclusion, the author has said that there is a little strategic advantage accruing from the ASAT test, and on the other hand, this test has rather damaged India's image as a peaceful and responsible nation. Hence now, India should ensure that it focuses only on the non-military application of its space program and should use it only for civilian purposes. With this, let's move on to our next news. Now this next news appears on page number 6 and is basically saying that various industrial fishing practices have led to a decrease in yield for the traditional fisher folks, and this has become a major issue amongst the voters in the Ratnagiri Sindhudurg Lok Sabha constituency. Now this topic will fall both under the category of environment as well as economy of the GS paper 3. As stated earlier, the industrial fishing practices has resulted in the decrease in the yield of fishes for the fishermen who practice or catch fishes through the traditional methods. Now the traditional fishermen have pointed out specifically to two industrial fishing practices, namely the purse seine fishing as well as LED fishing. Now the purse seine fishing is a practice where a large net is cast and all the fishes in that area get caught in that net. The reason why this purse fishing is very popular is because a single catch in this method is equal to weeks worth of catch in the traditional fishing method. But as per the traditional fishermen, this form of fishing has a direct impact not only on their livelihoods but also on the environment. The first impact is that due to this purse seine fishing, the traditional fishermen are left with no catch for days altogether, because already most of the fishes are caught through this method. Hence the traditional fishermen who go out there to catch fishes are barely able to have any catch for days altogether. Second is the ecological impact, or rather the disaster this method has on the marine ecology. Firstly, in this method, even the baby fishes get caught in the net. And secondly, this method also affects the breeding. Hence, in totality, due to this purse seine fishing method, the fish stock keep on depleting. The second kind of practice is the LED fishing practice. And as the name suggests, in this fishing practice, large LED lights are used to attract fish in a particular area. In fact, these lights are so powerful that one can see them even though the boats are located miles away. Now again, this method also has ecological impact because many a time even other marine life such as turtle, squids and smaller fishes get trapped in the process. Therefore, this practice also disrupts the entire marine ecosystem. Thus, in conclusion, it is due to these two industrial fishing practices that the traditional fishermen in the Konkan region are protesting against the Shiv Sena BJP alliance, because though the government has already passed directives to end the practice of purse seine fishing and the LED fishing, but till now there has been no implementation. With this, let's move on to our next news. Now the next discussion is a small article appearing on page number 11 in the conceptual section, where they have defined the term recount in the perspective of elections. So a recount is a repeat tabulation. Repeat tabulation means the recounting of the votes which have been cast in an election in order to determine the accuracy of the initial counting. In simple words, recounting the votes which were polled in an election is known as recount. The reason there has been a provision for the recount in the Indian laws is because many a time political parties and candidates believe that there has been an error in counting of votes, especially in close contests. Therefore, when there is a very close fight between two candidates, most of the time a candidate would ask for recounting of the votes in order to be sure that the votes counted are correct. As far as the provision regarding the recount is concerned, it has been provided for under Rule 63 of the Conduct of the Election Rules 1961. But what is of extreme importance, especially from the perspective of the prelims, is the fact that the recounting is only possible if the election results have not been declared. Hence, a recount will not happen if the election results have been declared and a candidate has been certified as the winner. And if in case such a scenario happens that the election result has been declared and a candidate has been certified as the winner, and still if some candidate or political party wants a recount, then the only recourse for them is that they have to challenge the entire election in a court of law. So please do bear in mind this fact that the recounting of votes is only possible till the time the election results have not been declared, and if at all the election results are declared, then the aggrieved candidate has to challenge the election in the court. With this, let's move on to our next news. The next article appears on page number 1 and is saying that the US has ended the waiver for India on the Iran oil import. Now the exemption to India was granted last November for a period of 180 days, and now this period is expiring on 2nd May. India was hopeful that it will be provided with an extended waiver to import Iranian oil, but the US has ended the waiver for India. Now this entire topic of the US-Iran nuclear pact controversy as well as its impact on India has been discussed thoroughly in the DNS dated 2nd November 2018. Further, even in the UPSC mains of 2018 only, a question was asked as to how this US-Iran nuclear pact controversy will affect India. This entire topic and this question has been discussed in the DNS of 2nd November. You can refer to this for more details. Let's move on to our next news. This next news appears as data point on page number 11 and is talking about the performance of India on the Press Freedom Index. Now this topic was covered yesterday by Ankur sir in the video dated 22nd April 2019. You can refer to this video for more information on the Press Freedom Index. With this, let's move on to our practice questions. Now based on our today's discussion, here is the first set of prelims practice question. Please pause the video and we'll discuss the answer after 5 seconds. The first question is in relation to the maternal mortality rate in India. The first statement, maternal mortality rate in India is way higher than the global average. Now this is an incorrect statement. The maternal mortality rate in India is lower than the global average. As per the data for the year 2015, the world average for MMR was 216, whereas for India, it was 174. And the current stats for the maternal mortality rate in India is 130. Second statement, unsafe abortion is the leading cause of maternal death in India. This is a correct statement. Hence, the right answer is B, 2 only. Question number 2 is in respect to the cross-LOC trade agreement between India and Pakistan. The first statement, it allowed for a zero tariff trade. This is a correct statement. Second, only Kashmiri or local products were allowed to be traded. This is also correct. In fact, one of the reasons why this cross-LOC trade has been suspended is because third-party products or non-Kashmiri products were also being traded across the LOC. Hence, the right answer is C, both 1 and 2. Now, here's the second set of your prelims practice question. Please pause the video and we'll discuss the answer after 5 seconds. Question number 3 is in reference to the purse seine fishing method. The first statement, it is a practice in which large net is cast and fishes are caught. This is a correct statement. Second, it is a very popular method as it is ecological friendly. This is incorrect. This method is popular because it provides with a high amount of fish catch. But this method is not at all ecologically friendly because it disrupts the marine ecosystem. Hence, the right answer is A, 1 only. Question number 4 is in respect to India's ASAT mission. The first statement, it successfully targeted a satellite located in the high Earth orbit. This is incorrect. The satellite it shot down was located in the low Earth orbit. Second, it has been indigenously developed by ISRO and DRDO. Now this is a correct statement. Hence the right answer to this question is B, 2 only. Dear DNS followers, you would be happy to know that the prelims compass for the science and technology is now available in the market. The description of this video has the link to purchase it from Amazon. This book has been meticulously designed through the C3 approach, and this can act as a one-stop solution for revising science and technology for the coming prelims examination. With this, we come to an end for today's discussion. Let's move to the question for the day.